Hello everyone, welcome to the Megan Moose channel. I hope you guys are having a great day today, and I'm very excited to bring a live stream here to you guys today. So it's been a little while since we've done live streams here on the channel, and I wanted to start bringing them back. Summer is right around the corner, and you may be planning a Disney World trip for yourself. You may be thinking of visiting the Disney parks. And so what I wanted to start doing is start doing some Disney tips live streams for you guys. So what I wanted to do today for this first live stream is I wanted to share just a couple of my favorite Disney tips, or what I like to suggest and recommend to people that are going to Disney World that can help make your Disney trip better. And so I wanted to share some of these tips with you today, but also have an open space here in case you watch my vlogs or have seen previous videos and maybe have some questions about some things when it comes to Disney planning. I wanted to have an open space for you guys to be able to ask some questions if you have any questions when it comes to planning a trip to Disney World. There's so much. So whenever you are hopping in here to the live stream, let me know that you're here in the comments or in the chat, so that way I can say hello. But also, if you have questions or have anything you'd like to say at all during the live stream, feel free to add that in the chat. And I'd love to be able to answer any questions that you maybe have during the live stream here. So I have just 10 tips that I wanted to share here while we are talking on the live stream. But as I said, if you have any questions that you would like answered, feel free to put them in the chat. So the first thing that I wanted to start out with, that it comes to, or it has to do when you actually get to Disney World. So if you are planning on driving to Disney World, the first thing that I always recommend is to remember where you park. So Disney World has a lot of parking. They have very big parking lots. And so whenever you actually get to Disney World, you're super excited. You're trying to get everything ready. And so what I usually do is I always like to take a picture of what parking lot I am actually parked in. So I will take a picture because at the end of the day, you may be there the whole day, maybe a half a day. You're having so much fun, you may forget where you're actually parked. And so that way, whenever you get done with your day, so you can head right back to your car, remember where you are parked, because I always like taking that picture of where I'm parked at. So the other thing that I want to recommend to you is to remember to turn off your car. The amount of times, this sounds very silly, but the amount of times that I actually go to in a couple of Disney Facebook groups, and the one thing that I see a lot of times is sorry, I got disconnected there. The one thing that I see a couple of times, I swear it's about once a month, I'll see somebody post a picture of a car in the Disney Facebook group, and they say that their car is running, and they try to find the person whose car it is. And so, like I said, once you get to Disney World, you're all excited, you're trying to get all of your stuff ready to go. Always remember to turn off your car, especially if you have the push to start cars. A lot of times you may not have to take your key out of the car. So always just remember to turn off your car, because that's the last thing you would want at the end of the day, is to actually go back to your car and not be able to have it work. So always remember just to turn off your car. If you're joining the live stream now, let me know in the chat. I'd love to see who all is here. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask any Disney questions or any Disney parks related questions. I'd love to answer any questions you guys have. The third thing that I always like to recommend to people is to make park reservations before you're actually visiting the Disney parks. So if you haven't been to Disney World in a while, what they're doing now, since everything has happened in the world, is they are requiring park guests to make a reservation before they actually get to the park. So that way they have a reservation to go to get into the park. So the one thing that I recommend is to make these reservations before actually getting to the park. Hey everyone, hey Francisco, hey Tia, how are you guys doing? Thanks for joining in. So the reason why I say this is because during peak seasons, like busy seasons, like spring break is here. It has been very busy at Disney World recently, and a lot of times the reservations for the parks can actually book up. And if that happens, you actually can't get into the parks. So one thing that I recommend is having your reservations made ahead of time. If you're purchasing your tickets on the Disney World website, they actually will have you choose what park you're wanting to go to. And so I recommend just choosing right then and there. If you know what you're going to be doing and what park you want to go ahead and just make that reservation, because the last thing that you would want to do is actually get to Disney World, have your ticket, but not have a reservation made, and then you can't actually get into the parks. So that's the last thing that you want to have happen. So make those park reservations. Another thing I recommend to people is to download the My Disney Experience app. So this is an app that is specifically for Disney World, and you can download it on your mobile device if you have a smartphone. And I recommend downloading it because there's so many things that can help you on your Disney World trip that can be beneficial to you whenever you are actually at Disney World. So on the My Disney Experience app, you can have your own account where you have your ticket linked and all of that good stuff. You can check wait times for how long lines are for certain rides. You can make dining reservations. You can do mobile ordering for some of the quick service restaurants. There's so much that you can do with the My Disney Experience app. And with that, since there's so much to do, there's a lot in the app. And so what I recommend is, if you know when you're going to Disney World, if it's a few weeks out or whatnot, what I recommend is have it downloaded on your phone and start to familiarize yourself with it and kind of scroll through, see what comes up as far as the features, and just have an idea of how it works. So that way, whenever you're actually in the parks, you don't have to worry about spending a lot of time trying to figure out what you need and where you can access certain features that you are looking for. And another thing that I recommend when downloading the My Disney Experience app, with the mobile ordering, and there's also like mobile checkout that you can do at some of the stores, what I recommend is actually already get a payment form of payment into the app. Because when you are doing the mobile ordering or the mobile checkout, you can actually pay via the app, and it saves a lot of time. So I recommend just having a form of payment in the app already and ready to go. So that way you don't have to waste time when you're in the parks actually getting that all set up. The other thing that I recommend is, with Disney World, it gets busy, especially spring break is here. And there may be a lot of lines when you are visiting Disney World, lines for food or lines for riding the rides. And so what I recommend is bring some type of entertainment with you to Disney World. So with this, there's a lot of things that you can bring. You maybe have kids, you want to be able to keep them entertained during while you're waiting in the lines. So what Disney has is they actually have their own separate game app that you can download on your phone. It's called the Play Disney app, and they have a lot of different games that you can play on the app. There's also fun interactive games that are located in some of the different lines. So if you're waiting in, there's a Star Wars ride, the Smuggler's Run ride. There's a couple of different games that you can play when you're actually physically in the ride or in the line that can help kind of speed up the time and make you feel like you're not waiting as long in the line. So I recommend downloading the Play Disney app. Also, before you go to the parks, kind of familiarize yourself with that app as well, because there's a lot of features in that app. And so kind of get familiarized with what all you can expect to see with that. And then if you have any other games that you want to download on your phone, that's another way to kind of entertain kids. So I recommend bringing just entertainment, just ways to keep you entertained whenever you are at the parks. And then another thing, when it comes to long wait times, or if you're visiting during spring break or a busy time, you may feel rushed, and you want to make sure that you get to all of the attractions and some of the top things that you want to see whenever you're in the park. So with that, what I recommend is, if you haven't been to the parks before, or if you have and you know what some of your favorite rides are, I recommend making a list of some of the top 5 rides that you are wanting to ride or that you want to ride. So that way you absolutely get to those whenever you're in the parks. That way you don't leave at the end of the day and remember that you missed out on one of your favorite rides. So I always recommend making a list of the top 5 rides that in each of the parks that you are wanting to go on. And when doing this, if you haven't ever been to Disney World before, They do have on the Disney website, they do have a list of all of the attractions for each of the parks. So you can kind of figure out what kind of attractions there are. If you know there's a certain ride that you like to ride or a type of ride, you can kind of see what those are looking like. YouTube is also another really great feature with these rides. If you aren't or if you're okay with kind of having spoilers and knowing what the ride is like, what you can do is actually go on YouTube and type in the ride, see if it's something that you're able to do or that you want to do. But ultimately, I just recommend having a list of the top 5 rides you want to do so that way you can plan out your day and absolutely get to them. So that way you don't leave at the end of the day and wish that you had gone on the ride and feel like you missed out on something. So I recommend that. Another thing, if you've watched my videos before, you know that I really enjoy bringing my own snacks and food with me to the parks. I visit Disney World a lot, and so it would get very expensive if I purchased food every time I went to the park. So I always bring snacks with me, and that's something that I recommend to you as well. If you're traveling with kids or even just yourself, it's nice having just some snacks on hand that you can take out of your park bag and eat while you're in lines or walking from ride to ride. I always recommend having snacks. There's a lot of great things that you can take. Granola bars are a really great snack option for kids or even for adults. I find that applesauce pouches are really great as well. I'll take fruit at times. If I'm taking like an orange or something, I'll always peel it ahead of time just to make it easier so that way I can eat it when I'm in lines. I'll take like goldfish crackers or whales. So there's a lot of different snacks that you can take whenever you're actually going to Disney World, and I highly recommend it. Let's see. Francisco has a comment here. I was there in Disney World for my first time visit my birthday. Oh, last month. And this month, first week. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you could make a trip to Disney World. Yeah, the festival. Okay. I love the Epcot festivals, especially the Flower and Garden Festival is going on right now. It's an awesome festival, and I'm so glad that you were able to come and make another visit to Disney World. That's awesome, especially for your birthday. So that's sweet. Thank you for sharing that. And also I love Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Oh, is your favorite place. See, I've never been to Disneyland before. That's on my Disney bucket list. I'd love to go to Disneyland. It's a goal of mine to visit all of the Disney parks. We'll see if that happens. But definitely Disneyland is a place that I'd like to visit for sure. So that's awesome. Thanks, Francisco. And Tia, your countdown is 13 days. That's awesome. I'm so excited. Definitely want to meet up with you guys whenever you come down. So that's awesome. I love having that Disney countdown. That's perfect. That's sweet. I love it. Everybody's making trips to Disney World. I love it. Okay, so moving on with our list, I got 3 more here. Like I said, guys, if you have any questions, let me know, or any other comments. That's great. The, I guess, 7th thing? No, 8th here. 8th tip that I have here is to prepare for the weather. So Disney World is obviously located in Florida, and Florida can get very extreme weather, whether it's extreme rain or extreme heat. You never know what is going to happen when it comes to visiting Disney World because it's in Florida. And so what I recommend is just plan and prepare ahead of time for the weather. So if you are traveling to Disney World, I recommend looking at the weather a week out and just getting an idea of what the weather is looking like. Of course, it could change and it will change, but I just always recommend having an idea of what the weather's going to look like. If you're visiting during the summertime, it's going to be very hot. So have clothing that you know is very cool, very lightweight. I like to wear like Nike shirts that are the dry fit shirts, I believe. So if I sweat a lot, I know they'll dry easily. If you're going on a water ride, they can dry very easily. Also, if it's going to rain during the early summer, it rains a lot and there can be pretty crazy rainstorms. So I recommend bringing an umbrella and thinking about like your clothing, if it gets wet, if it's able to dry easily. Another thing, a lot of people visit during the summer times, but you may be visiting during the winter or, the early spring. It can actually get pretty chilly down here in Florida. And I know people from the north, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and so people laugh at me whenever I say that it can get chilly down here, but it actually can dip into the 40s. So I do recommend bringing a coat or some type of jacket. Layers are another thing that I really like to bring. If I have, sometimes I'll wear like a long sleeve shirt and I'll bring a flannel over top or a lightweight jacket or something like that. So just always be aware of what the weather's looking like and prepare ahead of time. And another thing I recommend is before you're actually going to the parks during the day, check the weather and see what the weather's going to look like during the day. So, you know, if you need to bring an umbrella, another layer like a coat, or what kind of clothing you want to wear. So always just worry or think about what the weather is going to be like is what I definitely recommend. Let's see. Oh, Tia had a found an Oga's reservation. Oh, 8:30 a.m. That's the thing about Oga's. For people who don't know, this is Oga's Cantina is a Star Wars themed bar that's located in Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios. And we are trying to get a reservation to go to Oga's because it's a very popular place. You have to have a reservation in order to get in there. And sometimes they're hard to come by. But Tia, I was actually checking for us as well, and I was seeing a couple of 8:30 ones as well. And while that would be fun, I don't know that, yeah, we would want to go at the 8:30 a.m. So we'll just have to keep looking and see if anything else comes up. But I have been checking too. So definitely keep me posted if you find anything. But yeah, Oga's is something that I've been wanting to check out. And if you, that's another great tip just to share with people. If you are wanting to visit Disney World and you know if there's a restaurant or some type of experience that you're wanting to check out, if you have to make a reservation in order to do it, try to make it as early as you can, or if it pops up, definitely snag it, because if you don't have a reservation, you might not be able to go. So yeah, Tia, that is a little bit early. So, but yeah, with dining reservations, that's something you have to think about. You can make a reservation ahead of time so that way you can get right into the restaurant. Some of the restaurants do have walk-up lists where you can walk up and put your name on it. If there's an availability, they'll get you in. But sometimes they fill up too, or it might take a little bit for you to actually get into the restaurant. So recommend making those reservations along with those, like I said earlier, those park reservations. So reservations are very important when it comes to Disney World. So, all right. And the last two tips I have for you guys here is the one is to know how Disney transportation works. So if you're staying on Disney property, or even if you're not staying on Disney property, it's very important to know how Disney transportation works. So Disney has a couple of Disney transportation options. They have the Disney buses you probably know about. They have the Skyliner, which is the gondola system that goes up in the sky, or I don't know how you want to say it. They have the Skyliner. They have a water taxi, which is like a boat transportation. They also do have Ubers and Lyfts that aren't necessarily directly affiliated with Disney, but you can purchase and use on your own. And they also have the monorail. So what I recommend, if you know what you want to be doing, this is great for park hopping. This is great if you stay on Disney property. You can use Disney transportation to get you to and from all of the parks. So what I recommend, just look online, see what kind of transportation you might need to be using. There's some resorts that are located near this transportation. The buses go all over Disney property. But when it comes to the monorail, there are a couple of resorts that are located on the monorail loop. The monorail connects to Magic Kingdom and Epcot. So if you are park hopping, this is a great way to park hop between two of the parks. Between Magic Kingdom and Epcot is super easy. And then also the Skyliner connects you from Epcot to Hollywood Studios. And there's a couple of resorts that are located in between as well. So to make the most of Disney transportation, I highly recommend checking out how it works. I have some videos on that I can attach above here if you aren't familiar with how it works. But I definitely recommend familiarizing yourself with that. Another thing is Disney transportation during peak hours, like when the parks are opening and when the parks are closing, it can get pretty busy and kind of backed up. So the lines can get a little busy. I recommend trying to get there a little early to get onto the transportation. But during the day, sometimes it isn't super busy. So just be prepared and know like what you can take advantage of when it comes to the transportation. Because even if you aren't, this is another question I've gotten before, even if you aren't staying on Disney property, it is a complimentary service and you can use it for free. So even if you aren't staying at a Disney resort, you can use the Disney transportation, which is very nice and very handy. So just know how it works ahead of time. And the last thing that I have to say is probably one of the most important tips that I like to share with people, and that is to wear comfortable shoes. The amount of times that I have seen people go to Disney World, and whether they're just not informed or don't think about what kind of shoes they wear, the amount of times I see people get blisters or just are not comfortable walking by the end of the day, there's been too many to count. I made a video a while ago about the best shoes to wear to Disney World, and the one thing after I had made that video, I was really became observant of the shoes that people wore to Disney World and how they were wearing them. And I found that there were a lot of people that maybe weren't so comfortable with these shoes they decided to bring. So what I recommend when it comes to shoes you wear to Disney World, I recommend wearing shoes that you know are comfortable, that you already have broken in. And I recommend wearing shoes that maybe are not necessarily water resistant, but are water friendly. If it rains, your shoes may get wet, and just wear shoes that you know are comfortable for the rest of the day. I also recommend bringing multiple pairs of shoes. So instead of bringing just one pair that you think you might wear throughout the week, if it gets wet, the last thing that you would want is to have your only pair of shoes be wet for the rest of your time at Disney World. So I just recommend knowing what kind of shoes you want to wear to Disney World, making sure they're comfortable, and bringing multiple pairs of shoes. So I have a couple of videos on that as well that I can link above to help you guys know what kind of shoes to wear to Disney World. And Tia has a good question here. Are masks still required on transportation? That's a good question. So I have seen actually recently the masks are still required on Disney transportation, but for some reason I feel like I have seen something that said that on the Skyliner they were going to become optional. I'll have to check back. I'll leave a pinned comment here in the description or in the comments after I check on that. But I saw somewhere that the mask option for the Skyliner was going to be lifted soon, which is a good thing. So that's very exciting. So I'll have to check that out. But that leads into another good point, Tia, is you may not need masks while you are in the parks, but I always recommend just having masks on hand because you never know, Disney may change their policies. But you do need to have masks when it comes to transportation. So just have those on hand. Make sure you have a couple of extra pairs so that way you can wear those while you're on Disney transportation. So, but I will check and see about you thought you saw that too. I feel like I saw that on Instagram or somewhere. So I'll just have to check again and I can leave a comment below just so that way everybody's aware. But yeah, just before you're going to Disney World too, just make sure you're familiar with what the policies and guidelines are at the time because they do change pretty frequently. So just make sure you're prepared with that. So with that, those are the 10 tips I wanted to share with you guys. And I'm excited because I do want to start doing some live streams here on the channel again. This one may be a little bit impromptu, but we'll get better as we post other ones. But thank you guys for watching today. I'm very excited to keep sharing some Disney tips with you guys. If you are watching this on the replay, I will put chapters here below so that way you know what kind of talking points we are talking about here. But thank you guys for watching. If you're planning a trip to Disney World upcoming here, I'm very excited for you to be able to go. We've got some other videos here on the channel that will hopefully be able to help you prepare for that Disney trip. And with that, I appreciate you guys watching. If you were here on the live stream, Tia and Francisco, thank you so much for watching and commenting. And we will see you guys in the next Disney vlog or video. See you guys.